Hi, and welcome to another training module from PrestaTraining.com. My name is Kurt Donahue, and I'll be your host for this module. Today we're going to learn how to set up friendly URLs in your PrestaShop store. And in this module, we're going to cover the following items. First off, we need to know exactly what a friendly URL is. Secondly, we need to understand why they're important, because why go to the work of setting them up if they don't serve a purpose? And they most definitely do serve a purpose. And then we're going to get into the bulk of the content of this module, which is to learn how to set up friendly URLs. To do that, you have to do a few different things. First off, you have to learn how to create a blank htaccess file. Secondly, we have to figure out how to load that file up to the server. And finally, we're going to go into the PrestaShop back office and actually generate the htaccess file, replacing our blank file that we just uploaded to the server. Okay, let's first start out by talking about what a URL is, and then we'll talk about its importance and why you want to go to the trouble of actually setting up friendly URLs. First off, to understand what a friendly URL is, it's almost easier to show you what it is not. So in your basic first installation of your PrestaShop store, let's just scroll down a little bit and take a look at the featured products that it comes with standard. So I want to look at this iPod Nano. I'm going to click on that, and then I'm going to direct you to the URL bar up here, and you can see, look at this last part right here. Okay, it says product.php !id underscore product equals 1. Well, that's what a search engine is going to see. And it's really not very useful for a search engine to see something like that and understand what this product is. It's not descriptive of the actual product itself. It doesn't tell you anything about an iPod Nano. So what a friendly URL is, it's an actual URL that you go into the category or you go into the product and you set up, you actually set up your friendly URL in order for it to come up with something more useful. And after we change these to friendly URLs, you'll see what I mean. But I'm going to show you a different website for right now that I've already set up with friendly URLs. It's one of my other websites called Western Slope Living, and featuring some jams and jellies. So I'm just going to click on this apple butter jam here, and you can see it's apple butter jam by Hartman Gardens. I'm going to click on it. Now look up here in the URL bar again, and the way PrestaShop does it is, I believe this is actually the product number, and then what you've got here is the friendly URL, apple butter jam. And I'll show you how these are actually created when we set up a couple test categories and test products, and you'll understand why it actually says apple butter jam. But most of the time it actually takes it from the title of the product or the category that you set up. You can actually change it to whatever you want, but this is how it got there initially. So let's go back, and I want to show you a couple other things too, because it's not just products that are affected by whether your URLs are friendly or not. It's pretty much everything in your store. So if you wanted to look at a category, let's say you had a category that's very important to you and you wanted to drive people to these categories through search engine optimization. Well, if you've got a category that shows up something like this, shows up as category.php blah blah blah, well, once again, not very search engine friendly. So you want to take a look at using search engine optimization techniques to make your categories, your manufacturers, your products, all of those things easier to find for Google or Yahoo or whatever search engine it is that's going to bring up your results. So that is essentially, in a nutshell, what friendly URLs are and are not, and then also why they're so important. Once again, the reason they're so important is because friendly URLs will help your products, your categories, your manufacturers get seen by the big search engines. And that's really important if you ever expect to get people to come to your site. Okay, let's move on to the first steps that are required to set up a friendly URL. First, we need to be in our back office. So I've already logged into my administration panel. We want to be in Preferences. Scroll down just a little bit, and you'll notice down here there's a section called Friendly URL. You either set it up or you can leave it where it is right now, which it comes out of the box as not set up. So we definitely want to turn them on if we can. But you should also read down here. It says, first off, enable only if your server allows URL rewriting. Recommended. So you should always try to do this first. Not everybody has the ability to do friendly URLs, which is really unfortunate, but the vast majority of you shouldn't have any trouble with this if you're using a good web host. So we've got this checked. We definitely want to save it. Okay, settings were updated. The next thing we're going to want to do is click right here. It says, if you turn this feature on, you must generate a .htaccess file. Okay, now that's for somebody who's never done this before or doesn't know anything about a .htaccess file. This isn't as simple. It is simple, but it's a little confusing how to do it. So I'm going to show you the whole process of how to make this a very painless experience. So we'll go ahead and click on that, and where that actually took us to was the Tools tab and the Generators section here. So there's two things that we could do. We can generate an htaccess file, and we can also generate a robots file, which we'll talk about in another tutorial. So this is what we want to look at for now. Let's go ahead and read this. It says, warning, this tool can only be used if you're hosted by an Apache web server. Please ask your web host. So that's what I was talking about earlier. Not everybody in the world is going to be hosted by an Apache web host, which is, it's just the way it is. So for those of you that are, chances are you're going to be able to do friendly URLs. For those of you who are not, you may not be able to do this. So we're basically going to stop here for a moment, because what we want to do is we need to actually create a blank htaccess file first. And once we've got this blank htaccess file created, then we're going to upload it to the server, and then we're going to come back here and actually generate this. And one thing that I guess if you've never done this before, you wouldn't notice that it's missing, but there's actually a button that comes up when PrestaShop sees that you have a blank htaccess file created, and I'll show you that once we get that done. But let's just read this here. It says, before being able to use this tool, you need to create a .htaccess blank file in the directory of, in my case, PrestaTraining Demo 1.3.4.0, PrestaShop, and then put it in this root. So I'm going to put it in that root folder. And then I need to give it a write permission of chmod 666. So let's go ahead and first start by creating the blank htaccess file. Okay, to create a blank htaccess file, it's actually very easy. If you're using a Windows system, all you need to do is open up Notepad, and click File, Save As. I'm just going to save it to my desktop, make it easy, and I'm going to make the file name .htaccess, and then just click Save. It's that simple. So right now you can see that it popped up here in my desktop, and my Notepad file name has changed to .htaccess. So now let's go ahead and load that up to our web host. I need to open up my FileZilla. So PrestaTraining Demo 1.3 PrestaShop, and all I need to do is on this side over here find my htaccess file, and I'm going to grab it and drag it over here, and it dropped it in. Let me just show you where it is. There it is right there. So now it's on my server. Our next step is to be sure that we have the permission set correctly for the .htaccess file that we just uploaded. So let's jump back to the instructions really quick, and I want to show you this again. Right here it says give it a write permission of 666 on a Unix system, and that will definitely work, at least for most applications. But what I would encourage you to do is, if your host actually gives you a different write permission, for instance my host, I'm going to show you this, automatically set this file to 644. And here's what I want to show you. If we go to File Permissions, we can see that a 644 actually has a stricter permission than what a 666 would be. So let's just type in 666 and you'll see what I mean. I want you to specifically look at the group permissions write ability, and the public permissions writability as we change this. So let's go 666, and you'll see that we now just gave group and public permissions the ability to write to that particular file. Now here's what I would suggest. I would say that if you can use a stricter permission, for instance the 644, then go ahead and do that, because it just gives less access to the file, but probably as much as it needs. So there's no reason to give more access to a file folder, or anything like that if you don't have to. It just keeps your system a little bit safer. So I'm going to go ahead and leave my file permission at 644 instead of changing it to 666. You may need to actually change yours on your web host, I'm not sure, but if you can get away with a stricter permission, then I would suggest you do that. Okay, let's go back to PrestaShop and I'll show you what happens once you get this htaccess file in the right spot. Okay, we're back in the PrestaShop back office, and one thing you'll notice is this hasn't changed since the last time we were here because we haven't refreshed the screen. So go ahead and refresh your screen, and now we have a change. So the button to generate the .htaccess file has showed up because PrestaShop recognizes that you placed the blank file where it was supposed to be. Now before you push that button, you need to understand that this actually will erase any old .htaccess files you have. So this tutorial assumes that you've never created one. That's the whole reason that you're taking the tutorial in the first place. So that shouldn't be an issue. But if for some reason you do have an old .htaccess file, this will overwrite it. And just be sure that you know what you're doing and that there is no .htaccess file in that location. And chances are there aren't, or you would have gotten some sort of a notification for an overwrite as you transferred that file from your desktop or wherever you saved it to your web host. So let's move on and actually generate the .htaccess file by clicking on the following button. So we'll click it. It's very simple. It says update successful. Okay, so you might be wondering what actually happened. So you went to through this whole process of creating the blank file, and now we've pressed this button, but what actually happened in the background? So I'm going to show you what happened to that file just so you understand that pushing buttons actually does something. And if you're not very technically savvy like myself at times, I don't know a lot about htaccess file generation and some of the rewrite rules and how they really work or how to do them well, but that's why it's nice that PrestaShop does this for us. So let's go ahead and go back to FileZilla for a second, and I'm going to show you that this file, this .htaccess file, has been modified. So let's go ahead. I actually can't seem to open it from my FTP client here, so I'm just going to drag it back to my desktop, and I'm going to overwrite my blank file that was there. And now we're going to open this up. And before, this file was totally blank. There wasn't anything in here. And now PrestaShop has generated the .htaccess information. Okay, let's go ahead and go back to PrestaShop now and see what this actually did, how this actually changed our store for the better. Okay, we're back at the Presta Training store, and let's look at that iPod Nano again. This is the first one we looked at. I'm going to click on it. Now we can see a significant difference in the URL. This used to be, I can't remember what it was, but it was some product number and PHP and a bunch of gobbledygook that search engines don't really understand as far as, you know, identifying this as an iPod Nano. Now it says iPod Nano, and let's look at it, this accessories category. And you can see that that's got some sort of a useful name, accessories iPod. How about laptops? The category, laptops. This also applies to manufacturers and suppliers. So let's just check out this manufacturer here, Apple Computer. And here you can see it's got Apple Computer Inc. And Sure Incorporated. Sure Incorporated. So it's a much better way for search engines to actually find valuable information on your website and be able to drive more targeted traffic to where it needs to be. Now the next thing I want to show you is actually where this friendly URL information comes from. When you set up your products, categories, and suppliers, you have to fill out the name of your product, the name of your manufacturer, supplier, etc. And when you do that, PrestaShop will automatically create a friendly URL for you. It's just a matter of whether it uses it or not, depending on the selection of whether you want to use friendly URLs or not. So let's look in the categories here. I'll show you where to find this information. In accessories, let's go to the Edit button here. When this category was created, the name accessories was put in the name section here. And down here, it probably came up as accessories, and then someone added iPod. And I'm going to show you how to do this. Actually, we're going to create a test category and a test product, but basically it's the same process. But let's go back for a second to create a new test subcategory. I'm going to call this one test category. I'm going to click outside the box and scroll down a bit, and now you can see down here in this section, friendly URL, it's actually automatically created the friendly URL called test-category. Now you can modify this if you like, and I'll show you that in a second, but I want to show you this first. And don't forget to save, so let's go ahead and save that. And then we'll run back over to the main store. We'll refresh this, and now we've got our new category called test category. So let's click on that, and sure enough, it comes up as test category. Okay, if you don't like test category, or you'd like to optimize it a bit more based on keyword research, here's how you can do it. So let's go back to test category and edit. And let's say you wanted to add test category test. This is all made up, so it's whatever is applicable to your situation. I'm just going to show you that you can actually modify that. So let's go ahead and click save again. And go back to the store and refresh. Click on test category. And there is our change, test category test. So that's essentially how I came up with all of my friendly URLs for my Western Slope Living store with all of these jams and jellies. Essentially, I entered in the products, apple butter jam, it created the friendly URL, and that's fine for what I was doing here. I don't really have a need to generate a different friendly URL for right now, but if I wanted to, I could. Okay, so that's essentially it. You have learned, first off, what a friendly URL is. You've learned why it's important, and yes, it is important. You want to be able to use friendly URLs if you can. Thirdly, we learned how to create a blank .htaccess file. After that, we learned how to upload it to the web server. And finally, we learned how to generate the .htaccess file. So I hope this video tutorial was helpful for you. Go ahead and check out www.prestatraining.com for additional tutorials on all kinds of PrestaShop related topics.